Alrighty, here they are. So, here we finally have an alpha test model. It took quite a while. Quite a while. I've been working on this project for, when did we start this? Early July? Yeah, I started this in early July, and here we are finally September. So, 2 months later, we finally have a first, full product. So, the case took quite a bit of designing to get it just right, and I think I finally found the answer. So we got a sliding door design with a dovetail, so there's an angle on either side, and that is basically all that holds it onto the case. But it actually does a really good job. It's very strong, and it's simple to create, and it's perfect. Like, I really can't ask for anything better. Now, in order to hold the board in place, I've got some plastic tabs that have some little chunks cut out of them, so that way you push the board in and then it snaps in. And it does a pretty good job. That board ain't coming out. So, yeah. And then there's just little nubs here that hold the door. So it actually is like a friction fit to hold it on. Initially aligning it is a little difficult, but once you get it started, it's easy enough. So yeah, there we go. It's finally complete. So now you get to see colors. The button colors finally came in. So this is the red and white, and this is the design that I've pretty much decided on. I've asked Instagram and some of my friends what they thought was a good color combo. Now, for those of you that are asking about custom switches and stuff, this is how they come. Alright, I don't make my own switches. That's way too much effort. You literally buy them like this. So it's just the whole switch, and you buy them as tall as you want. These are 13 millimeters from the base to the tip, and they come in a couple different colors. They had a darker red, but I figured it would probably just blend into the case too much. And here's the white. So you can see the colors there. But yeah, for what I'm thinking out, the black blends in too much. The red sticks out nicely, and the white is nice and bright, so it draws your eye to the home button very nicely. And I think it looks good. I tried the other way with white buttons and a red home, and it didn't look quite right. So on the case itself, we can see a Renduinix engine monitor, which is probably what I'm going to call this thing. And I'll keep the code called Renduinix, so that way for the more fancy guys you can pronounce something a little more complicated. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Now if you get a keen eye, you'll notice that the screen's a little different here. So let's plug it in and see what we're looking at here. Alright, so we're all plugged in. Wait for the bootloader to finish doing its little thing. And haha, take a look at that, huh? Ain't that some fancy shit? Let me actually turn the lights off just so you can see a little better. So, ain't that some bling factor right there, huh? Ooh, baby. Okay, so this is a negative LCD. So if you notice, the black is actually the background, and the color is what shines through for the letters. So if we take a look at our display over here, change your color, the background kind of changes color, but you don't notice it as much. And if you play with the contrast a little bit, you could probably get it, better. But yeah, you get colors. So the colors themselves aren't as prominent, but they sure look cool as hell. So I don't know about you, but I'm digging that. That looks cool. And it is very readable at night, and surprisingly, you can even see it in the daytime. The letters kind of turn clear, which is strange, because the backlight can't really fight with the sunlight, but it's still very readable. So I don't know. That's really freaking cool. I don't know about you, but I think that is awesome looking. So yeah, that's the negative RGBs. Alright, so pardon the mess, but here we go. Both test models in the car. Let's turn the ignition on so we can see what we're looking at here. Turn off the lights so we can really appreciate this fucking thing. Alright, I'm not gonna lie, I'm really digging this future look. It's so freaking cool. Like, just check that out. Oh my goodness, I can't get over it. I kind of wish I went with these sooner. Let me set these at constant brightness here. So as you can see, brightness wise, there's a huge difference. So if we set this to medium, now they feel kind of like they're at the same brightness. Well, this one is at high, and even though the letters stick out nicely, it looks really good. I don't know, that is some snazzy stuff right there. That's so cool. Oh my god. But yeah, there's a good comparison. So if you like your colors more, then this will be good for the brighter environments. But if you like your text and the cool factor, then this is definitely the cooler one, the negative. So that just gives you a real good idea of the two right here. Okay, so here's what they look like in the daytime. So these are both set at full brightness, and they're both on green. So, you know, they're still pretty readable. And if we go into the shade a little bit, you can kind of see the colors a little better. So, yeah, daytime. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So now that we finally have a case and a working unit and everything like that, it's finally time to actually send out some alpha models. I know, you guys have probably been waiting forever. I'm glad you've been very patient. An alpha kit will look a little something like this. So you'll get 10-foot Ethernet cable. This should be plenty enough to go from the diagnostic connector into the cab and do what you want. And you get yourself a, an adapter that'll plug into the engine bay side. It's got an access door, and you can get all your pins and the Ethernet jack in the back, so you can solder and custom jump stuff. Now, and obviously you'll get one of these units. So, if you guys are interested in an alpha unit, they aren't for free, and I can't really, just give stuff away, And you're lucky enough that I was able to invest money and actually get all the parts I did. So I got some extra screens, and I got a bunch of parts and stuff like that. But, this stuff costs money. First off, let me know, which one would you rather see for the screen? Do you like this version better, or do you like the positive one better? If I can't really decide, then this will be the stock version. Will be this screen, and if you want to upgrade for a small price, it might even be something as small as $5. You can get a different screen, or if you really want, you could get a custom buttons. So if you'd rather see black or white or red or some weird pattern, I'd allow you to order a custom one if you want. Put it in the comment of the eBay order or something like that. I have contacted a few alpha testers so far, only like 2 or 3, but no one's gotten back to me yet. So if you want to be an alpha tester, make sure that you respond to YouTube comments or YouTube messages. If you don't know about the YouTube private messaging system, usually you get an email about it or something when someone messages you. But yeah, check your messages, guys, because if you don't respond to me, you're not going to make a very good tester. I need the communication stuff. Now, the biggest thing about the alpha program is figuring out what vehicles work and which vehicles don't. And I got to give a big shout out to a couple of you guys in the alpha program that have already made a DIY model and verified that it worked. You guys are amazing. So there was actually 2 guys that helped verify that the program works and the hardware works and all that works. So here's our big old chart here. This will tell us everything we need to know. So we got a couple charts. You can tell that they're all divided by engine. So we got our 4.0, our 2.5, and our 4.2. And then we got our XJs, our MJs, our YJs, and they're also sorted by automatic and manual transmissions. So the star with the number tells me how many people I have available with that combination. If there's a number in front, that means that that's how many models have been verified that work. And they're also green. So we can tell that the automatic ones work just fine. The manual ones, not so much. This is my buddy's 4.0 and his 2.5 liter. Both of them I couldn't get any data on. And I'm thinking it has to do, it's definitely hardware. I think that the pin might actually change for some reason. I don't know who the smart guy was that thought, hey, let's change the pin unless the hardware required to access it is different. So on the automatics, it's pin 1, but I think on the manuals, at least for the 2.5s, it might be pin 3. I still have to go over to his house and test that. But if it's just a simple pin change and that's it, all the hardware still works, then the manual guys might be in luck. I don't see it being that easy. This entire process has been real difficult. So if you have one of the vehicles in gray, you're going to make a much better tester, because I need to figure out which vehicles work and which ones don't. So that's the whole point here. If you got a manual, for right now, you're not in good hands, because manuals don't work. So if you're manual, you're going to have to wait. But for automatics, there's a couple people that I'm going to look into and send. So, but yeah, I'm just going to send them out, and I just need to know if they work and what you think of them and stuff like that, little changes you might want to see here and there. But I think they're looking pretty good. I am happy with it. So, you know, it helps me when you guys are, you know, commenting on all the videos and stuff like that, when it shows you're excited and you're talking to me on the Instagram and Facebook page and all that. It shows that you're really interested in the product, and that, you know, that might bump you up the list a little bit. So it's always good to see people that are, you know, truly interested, you know, for longer than a week. So I got a stack of these boards. I'm going to send about 8 of them out. So I only have enough parts on me right now to make 5, maybe 6, just because this stuff's expensive. So I got to buy them in small quantities. But yeah, if you are interested in being one, you're down to put down $50 through PayPal to, you know, buy one of these. This kit right here, this should get you going. What you think of the thing, and if there's any features you'd like to add, then hey, let me know. I guess today's topic is going to be 3D printing. That's I have a lot of video information on that. So if you're more interested in seeing how the printer works and how all that stuff, you know, happens, well, stay tuned for that. Oh baby, it's big box time. Oh my. You don't realize how small a 0.4 millimeter nozzle is until you look at the thing. It's like a needle. That's cool. So I think that sits in there or some shit. I'm gonna bolt that down. Okay, well, I preheated and loaded. So now we got that going. Nice. Alright, we're gonna do it. We're gonna push the button. Jesus. You can tell that takes some power. All the lights dim. Alright. We'll let that go and see what happens. Alright, we did it. So I guess it's going back into preheat mode. Okay, so I guess it had to cool down and then heat up or something. So it heated up the red extruder. So let's see what this thing's going on about. Well, it's actually not all that loud. Okay, be careful with that. The damn thing's like pushing the lid off. Yeah, we'll need to put a cable holder on that thing. Yeah, what happens, the wire's getting caught up. Well, it's not just the wire, it's actually the tube itself, too. Okay. This stuff is really fucking difficult to get off the board. It's completely mangled and destroyed. Luckily it was only just a test thing. I don't know, it's plastic and it prints, so that's cool. Doesn't look half bad for not really calibrating much. All I did was try my best to level out the thing, and it seems to do okay, so alright. Whatever. Yeah, the included tool fucking sucks. It's completely just blunt, not sharp at all. Alright, so here's more of a useful print right here. Printing out a clip-off Thingiverse. And it's supposed to hold the tube and the wire together. Now, I had issues with the raft not printing. Like, it did all the motions, but nothing came out. And then when it was finally time to do the actual print, stuff came out fine. So I don't think it was a feeding issue, I think it's more of a file issue. But eventually it stuck well enough to kind of work, so we're just going to go with it. It's not critically important how nice it is, just that it is kind of functional. So this is running at 200 microns. Doesn't look half bad. Okay, well, this one came off the bed rather easily, so that was cool. Just had to poke it a little bit. And you can see where it was fucked up at the beginning, because it wasn't really sticking properly. But once it finally got going, it, you know, did its thing. Doesn't look half bad. Yeah, the almighty stress test. Nice. Okay, so we're going to give this a shot. This is the first test adapter that I have. So, it's just a real basic thing. Now I also have supports turned on for this just because the overhang here, and especially underneath, there's a good gap, so I'll let the software do its magic and see what happens. So, we're all cleaned off, we got some purple stuff on there. We're going to let this thing heat up and see if it sticks. I recalibrated I re-leveled the bed, so we'll see what happened. It looks like on one of the previous prints, the nozzle was too close and it actually left indents in the mat. So hopefully that's not a problem if the glue fills in. We shall see. Okay, so here we are. We're about 21% through the print. Now it looks like there is an issue with the Makerware software and this printer. I guess when it spits out the G-code, it doesn't get the supports right. So when it goes to print a support, the print head moves over to the left as if there was like another one next to it, but it doesn't actually print anything out. So you'll see it like pause sometimes, and here it goes. So right now it thinks it's going to print out some support, but it's not actually doing anything. Nothing comes out, and it's also not centered. So it kind of dicks around over here and does a bunch of nothing. And then when it thinks it's done the support, it goes back to the main process and it keeps building it up. So we're gonna just let this run and see what happens, but we might get some issues when the overhangs come. So I don't know, we'll see what happens, but it might not be the prettiest. Now if you notice right there where it just started on the front right side, the reason why that looks so bad and fat is because it looks like there's an excess of plastic or whatever. So when it finally goes to print back at that spot, it like squirts too much out, so it makes the wall way too thick and disgusting. But the other one behind it looks great. So again, that has something to do with the G-code. Oh well, that's what test printing is all about. Okay, so we had tons of overhang, so I actually took my putty knife and held that piece up so it could print. So as you can see, now there's like a bit of a flat surface for it to work on. But yeah, I don't know what the hell it's doing. It's making like circles, but I guess we'll see when the thing's done. But now it's actually kind of sticking, so might not be the prettiest, but at least it'll work. Now here's the next critical part. We're at 97% and it's printing out the final top layer. So without any proper support, I'm curious if this will work. It seems like it has printed something. It's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. for not having a support, you know, just building out of basically thin air. That ain't too bad. And that's where it's important to have a thick layer, so that way it holds its shape. There she goes. She's all done. Nifty. So we'll let that bad boy cool and see what happens. Okay, so with a little bit of rocking, I let the bed cool down to about 74 degrees Celsius, and gave it a couple good tugs, and it finally snapped right off. So very clean, very nice. So you can see all the boogers at the bottom because there was no support, so it was kind of just building until something finally stuck. Same with over here. So you can see it was kind of just a big spaghetti mess until there was enough of a platform to build on. But then once it got going, you can also see the difference between where the print head started and where it ended. So every time it started here, there was a big chunk of plastic sitting on the tip. So it had to push that out, and it made this, you know, ugly looking edge. But if you come over to the other side, where it was finishing, you notice it's nice and clean. So here's another thing that'll get you. So here's the one that you can buy. Fits on there nice. Real easy. Very light connection, honestly, without the pins. It just kind of floats on there a little bit, except for that little positive lock, which ain't much. But it slides right on there. Now the 3D printed one doesn't actually fit. And what I'm attributing that to is the fact that when this cools, it actually shrinks a little bit. So we'll have to work on oversizing our models by, you know, 1 or 2%. So that when it shrinks, it hits the right level. So it's a bit of a bummer that our first print doesn't fit. But it gives us a real good idea for what to look out for and what to work on. So it's not a complete failure, just mostly. Alright, here we are, attempt number 2. So somebody on Instagram mentioned to me that the supports probably weren't printing out because the program had the right extruder set to print supports instead of the left. And that makes a lot of sense because when I was watching it, you know, it did switch to the right head. I just wasn't realizing it because I was only focusing on the left. So I put film in on the right side now, so we're going to print, I guess, how we usually should. I'm still waiting on that black. It should come sometime today, but I'm impatient, so we're going to try version 3 of our connector. It's oversized by about 4%, and I just played with some of the little things a bit. So we'll see how long this one takes. So you can get a much better look at the support structure now. So you can see the little lines on the right-hand side, and the little dashes and squares in the middle. So that'll support the plastic when we get to the higher levels. So that way it doesn't totally fall over. Hopefully they're not a super pain in the ass to break off, though. It's all controlled, you know, by software automatically, so who knows, maybe I'll make my own supports later. So that seems to be working a lot better with supports. We don't get spaghetti everywhere. Alright, cool. Just laying down the first layer for that. Okay, not bad. Hour and 23 minutes. Not too bad. It's looking pretty good. Much better than the other one. My. We'll let that cool for a little bit and see if she don't pop off. Okay, bed is under 70 degrees Celsius now. So, let's see what happens. Alright. That was stuck on there a little bit better, and that's because of the support. So we still got a little bit of spaghetti, but better than the other one. So now the fun part. Let's see how hard it is to take all this support shit off. Okay, so here's version 2. Cleaned off all the crap. Bit of a pain in the ass to get all that shit out of there, but whatever. So, now for the real part. Does it fit? Yay! Alright, so it does fit on there. That's cool. A little hard to come off, but I guess that's a good thing. You don't really want the thing flying off. But as comparison to these models, these are pretty light. Snap on, snap off. So if I wanted it this light, I'd have to probably go up to 105%. But still, that feels pretty good. I like that. That's a nice positive retainment. That feels like it's on there. Especially for something that's going to be semi-permanent. I think that could work. So I guess we'll have to see if the pins fit and all that shit, but we're getting somewhere. Okay, so we got some pins in there, and the pins actually fit, so that's awesome. Got our wires. Our Ethernet jack doesn't quite fit. One hole fits, the other one doesn't. So it looks like I gotta bring the spacing in just a little bit. I don't know what's off. I don't know if maybe this model is a little too small or whatnot, because I made it, 4 times. I made it 4% bigger, so now the connector fits fine, but the Ethernet jack doesn't. So I either messed up on the model, or I don't know. There's God, trying to make realistic sizing is difficult. You don't know if it's the printer or your model or all kinds of shit. But I just broke one of the feet off and have the other one holding it in. And it looks like it works pretty well now. So that's a nice little adapter. So not too bad. Nice positive action too. Alright, things are getting complicated now. So here's version 2 of my connector. So this is going to have a center mount Ethernet jack instead of the one that comes out of the side. So I made an access door, so hopefully I can get to everything. And I made a friction fit door. I forget what the hell these are called, but it's an interference fit, so it should snap in properly. So we'll see if that works or not. I've been doing some test prints and calibrations and crap and trying to get things right, and oh god, it's a lot of work. Tell you what, no two prints the same. It's just, oh man, trying to get this exact is not easy. So anyway, here we are, an hour and 9 minutes later, and we have well, something. So let's see how we're doing here. Good little clip, holds the door open. So here we are. Once. Now I printed this with a lot of support material, so hopefully it doesn't actually works. So this was printed at 300 microns. This is the lowest resolution print setting. There's quite a lot of supports that I have to take off. Okay, so here's the model after cleaning all the crap out of it. It looks alright. Could be better. Obviously, like I said again, this is printed on the lowest quality settings. So this was 300 microns. It looks like we lost some detail up here in the door. Zoom in here. You can really see. So you can see the edges look like crap. But if we come up here, you can see the holes in the top left and top right. I had to open them up with a screwdriver, but there's not enough detail. Those holes are very tiny. Now, trying to clean the supports out of here was a pain in the ass. This either shrunk, it shrunk or did something, but it's just, you can jam the connector in there if you really try, but it's really tight. So the models don't shrink as much on 300 microns as they do as 100, which is nice, but you know, it's still too small, so I gotta oversize the model just a little bit. Now the other thing that you have to be aware of, I printed these on different axes. So I had the door printed like this. I didn't want the layers to take the force and delaminate, so I figured by printing it this way, you know, each strand is supporting the weight, if you know what I mean. So it's not that they would break, they wouldn't, you know, give way. If they printed like this, you know, left and right, you know, they might snap. But the only problem is the z-axis has a different accuracy than the x and y. So what that means is that since this was, you know, made like this, now the it's not the same as if it was printed on the x. So it doesn't actually fit. It's just a little bit too tight. So the Z is wider. So it'll sit on there, but I can't get it to go in. It's just way too tight. So I'm going to try and sand it down a little bit. The one thing I'm really curious about is if this door works. So this uses a bit of an interference fit here. So it uses a shoulder system. So you have your main layer and then you have a drop down. So when this clicks in, the shoulder pops into the back. But it's too tight for me to fit, so I can't really show you. Man, this 3D print stuff is really complicated. So I'm learning that the slicer software is a big difference. So this model right here was printed at you know, normal settings, and this one was printed at 2% bigger. And what I'm finding is for thick stuff like this big area, it's 2% X and Y, so that's fine. But I noticed that the holes, I think that was only a 1%. It was either a 1% or a 4% for the holes. But the interesting part is down here when we check the inside and outside of these thin walls. So what I found is it's only a 1% difference on the inside and outside of these walls. And I'm wondering if because, you know, something to do with the shells or something like that, changes the thickness in a different way. So it's weird that you'll start getting different results. You have to understand how the software actually expands models in order to get the size you want, because this is the part we really care about, and it still doesn't fit when it's 2% bigger. Goodness, the stuff you learn. So the shells definitely affect how the model is sliced in the program. So what I found is for things that have very small inside diameters, it's much better to have one shell than two, if you can get away with it. The reason they usually do two shells is in case the printer, when it starts, if it starts making a hole or something, by having two shells, you don't get to see the infill. But from what I'm understanding in that second shell, sometimes it'll take the inside diameter before it takes the outside. So for these holes and this inside portion of the wall, it gets expanded even more than usual, and that's what's causing our fitment issues. So by setting it to one shell, I was finding that they were coming out a lot more predictable. Okay, so this was a test I ran trying a couple different settings. So first what I checked was the difference between 2 shells and 1 shell. So I have a couple markings on here. It's very good to mark your test model so you remember which setting was which. So the left marking here is the number of shells. The marking here is how many microns it is. And then the marking on the right is how much expansion we have. So you can see here the difference between 1 and 2 shells. You'll notice here on the edges there's more of a hole. As with here, there's almost nothing because this is only 1 shell, so it's only doing 1 loop, while this one's doing 2 loops. So sometimes that negatively affects your inside model quite a bit. So I found that this one was quite small. So switching to 1 shell, things got better. Now the other thing I checked was the difference between resolution or layer height. So this was 0.2 and this was 0.1. And what I noticed here is on 0.1, it actually shrunk even more than with 0.2. So I just stuck with 0.2 for the rest of the test. So then you'll notice over here, I expanded this one by 2%, 4%, and 6%. Now each one of these holes is larger by 0.1 millimeter. So the goal here was that the center hole, I think, was supposed to be the diameter of the screwdriver. And what I did is I tested each one to see if 1, the increments were in 0.10 thou, and 2, how big I had to go to finally fit the screwdriver. So we had no fitty, getting closer, and finally fit. So I had to I had to expand this model 6% in order to get the fit. But you can see the difference in fitment between how loose it is. So this is, 0.2 oversized, 0.1 oversized, no oversize, 0.1 undersize, and 0.2 undersize? I don't know why that one fits. Oh, yeah, I don't know. So it's interesting to see how the expansion affects all that stuff. So a couple interesting things I found about the 3D printer. I found out that if I lowered the bed temperature from 110 to about 100 degrees Celsius, the prints still stuck well, but they came off a whole lot easier. So that was a very big help to me. The other thing was I got a thinner scraper, so that way I could kind of get under prints and start peeling them at a corner and work their way up. So that was cool. So now I pretty much got this dialed in so that I can get halfway decent prints most of the time. The only thing I'm noticing is if I print very long, flat pieces and peel it off, it starts to take some white off of this mat. I don't know if letting it cool longer will help prevent that or what, but it's something to look out for. Like you can see the difference here. On here, there's not really anything. This is, this was the face down, but it looks black. And over here, you can see all the white that was peeled off the mat. So I don't know if I have to let it sit longer so it doesn't start peeling and stuff up. But yeah, for the case, the first thing that I tried was a snap action thing. And it worked, but it needed a lot of improvement. So it did snap together quite well. But the problem is it's just too loose. It just comes off too easy because it's hard to get sharp corners and, locking and all that crap. So that was too complicated and I didn't really like it. So then we moved on to the dovetail design. So this one works very well. It's very easy to, make. And it does the job, so I'm happy with that. So I'm finding if you want kind of tight clearances, you want to expand your models 0.2 millimeters, so that way they actually fit. Because if you design them with a 0 tolerance, they won't fit. It'll be too tight. So you have to leave a little bit of a technical air gap so that you actually get a tight fit. So even though it looks kind of weird on the model you're making, when it comes out, it'll come out perfect. So I added a little home icon there, but it's a little small, so I'm going to make it bigger. And also made a little indent here so that you can fit the USB cord in better. But that hole needs to be opened up a little bit more because sometimes, cables don't have as big of an end. So this is all just part of the testing procedure. So for the 3D CAD software, I've been using Tinkercad. It seems to work rather well. I've been getting pretty good at using it. So I rounded off the edges on this case so that it felt a lot nicer, and everything else. And if we ungroup this, you can see all the crap. So the way that this works is you make you make your stuff. So you make all your parts here, and then you just oversize them a little bit. So you oversize them about 10 20 thou or so. And then what you do is you convert it to holes, and you group it all together, and by doing that, it makes all the cutouts for you. So I just added all the details on here, and it takes a lot of work. So, and then when you group it together, it cuts everything out for you. So that's how I get my my stuff all nice and pretty. Okay, so hopefully you learned something about 3D printers and all that crap, that they're kind of inaccurate and it's hard to get pretty prints. And if you're planning to use this as a form of making products that you're going to sell, just understand they're not going to look perfect. They'll look okay, but it takes a lot of effort in order to make a really nice print, especially with intricate stuff. Things start to give unpredictable results. So it's a lot of trial and error and a lot of plastic. But even though I've printed as much stuff as I have, I still have a decent amount left on this kilogram roll. So you do still get some mileage out of these things, which is nice. So it's not like you're totally blowing through plastic, but yeah, I've learned quite a lot with these things, and hopefully you have too. So, alright. I really want to get a mechanical video out for you guys. I'm sure you're probably getting sick of all this Renduinix stuff, but no time. No time at all. I've got a busy life. So, yeah.